Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying. Please welcome our director, multiple award-winning filmmaker, one of the most distinguished voices from the United States of America, the director of the Florida Project, Mr. Sean Baker, please.
Hi, everybody.
Sean, it's such a pleasure to welcome you back to Hong Kong.
Thanks for having me back. It's really, I haven't been here since 2013.
For Starlet.
Yes, so it's wonderful to be back.
And, you know, Sean is one of the leading filmmakers in American independent cinema. And ever since his first film, Four Letter Words, he already showed this exquisite eye on suburban culture and different communities in America, the different layers in American society and the characters. So, and what a wonderful film that we've just seen. Maybe I'll start with a few questions with Sean, and then we'll open up to the audience. And you're welcome to ask questions in Chinese, and I'll translate the questions and answers for you. 我會先同 Sean 有個對話啦，然後會開放俾觀眾問問題嘅。咁歡迎大家用廣東話問問題，我會幫你哋翻譯。So, Sean, characters are a large part of your cinema, and you show genuine empathy for marginalized characters. For example, the illegal immigrants, the underdogs, or in this case, a single mother who's unemployed. And what touched me is that these people's lives are often underrepresented in cinema. And people tend to look them through certain lenses, but your portrayal bring the real lives out with so much vivid details, and they're portrayed as ordinary human beings rather than someone that's special or whatever. And I found this very precious. Could you talk about where your humanism come from, and with the Florida Project as an example, can you talk about how you create your characters?
Oh, wow. First off, thank you for those kind words. My co-screenwriter and I often say that in terms of just in general, you know, character is most important for us in terms of screenplay writing. It's what, as a film goer myself, I find character to be the most interesting thing. Fully fleshed out characters who are appealing, no matter whether they are the protagonist or the antagonist. And my character development and writing goes hand in hand with my casting, you know. So I've been very lucky throughout my last few films to find wonderful casts that embody these characters, and without them, the characters wouldn't be as fully fleshed out as they are. Are you translating this, or should I? I don't know if I should be long-winded or not.
This part, in this conversation part, does anyone need Cantonese translation? We're pretty good with that.
Okay.
So yes. Right. So we have more time of your talking.
I'll keep going.
Which is great. Yes.
But then regarding the second part of that question, I guess it's hard sometimes to be self-analytical. Because you try not to, as a screenwriter, you actually try not to analyze your own work too much, because then you feel, you know, perhaps on the next one it'll feel contrived or too calculated. And but I think that I think my films, the last 5 films, have been a response to what I'm not seeing enough of in film and television, and I'm talking about U.S. film and television. We often show the U.S. in a certain light. You know, there's a lack of diversity in terms of storytelling. The characters who we see on screen are often, you know, one particular group of people. Upper middle class white folks, and I don't think I think that that doesn't represent the U.S. properly. And so I think my films are trying to, shine a light on perhaps, different subcultures, groups, underrepresented, even locations, so many of our films take place in New York or Los Angeles. We never really get to see outside of these cities. So I think it's what I want to see more of on the big screen, and so I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, thank you. Because we're at a time when the concept, or at least the discussion of diversity, is at the forefront. But in American cinema, I think there's still a lack of that. And for your interest, Sean's second film, Take Out, it's about Chinese immigrants in New York. And then we see Asians, Armenians, African Americans, all as American people. And that's, what form American society really is, not just white people.
That's how we refer to our country, a melting pot. But we often don't see that melting pot in storytelling, in the visual arts. Yeah.
And I understand you do quite extensive research for most of your films, and for example, for casting, you just mentioned your actresses. For example, Bria in the film who plays the mother, Bria Vinite. Vinite.
Actually, the only person who can pronounce it perfectly besides Bria herself is Brooklyn.
So, thank you. I don't feel so bad now. And Brooklyn Prince, who plays the daughter. So what is it like working with them? Because I know the first time or non-professional actresses.
Yeah, well, I've worked with many first-timers throughout my career, and I've been very lucky to have found wonderful first-timers. I have, an 86-year-old first-timer in Starlet, Besedka Johnson. I have, Maya Taylor and Kitana Kiki Rodriguez from Tangerine. And so... and Prince Adu from Prince of Broadway, that was a big one for me because he really, in a way, that was the film I made before Starlet, and in that film taught me a lot about how to work with first-timers. So, in this case, it wasn't as if we were seeking out a first-timer for Haley. By the way, we cast her off of Instagram, and it wasn't like we were looking to Instagram to cast. We were actually considering some pretty big names. We were trying to get big Hollywood names for this role, and you can imagine the names we were discussing. Anyone between 20 and 24 years old who was hot now with the box office in the U.S.
And you can't name them?
No, I cannot name them.
Sorry.
No, but I will name one. Actually, way back when we first started talking about this project back in 2011, 2012, we were actually considering Britney Spears. Yeah, because she's an ex-Mouseketeer. And maybe you actually see a little bit of Britney in Haley. But then, she obviously got a little too old for the role. And sorry, that's true. It's time. I wasn't able to get financing in time. So. But also it wouldn't have worked. That was a stunt casting idea on our part. And so years later, when we actually got financing and we were going down this road of casting, yes, we were considering big names, and something was telling me that was off. Something was telling me that wasn't going to work, that if we see a celebrity up on screen playing this role, especially this role of this mother struggling and having to resort to sex work to support her child, that it would constantly be pulling us out, meaning the audience pulling us out, even if this person was the best actress ever. I just felt there was something that wasn't going to work and was kind of dangerous about that sort of casting. And then it just happened to be that one night I was going through Instagram and somebody had reposted her post, and she made me laugh. Quite honestly, it wasn't just a photo; it was like a video on Instagram, and she was she had this very self-deprecating nature and yet very confident at the same time. Of course, she had the physicality. Those tattoos are hers. And she had a rebellious nature. She's only 23 years old, and or 22 when I actually found her on Instagram. And there was something that was saying to me that there's something very interesting about her persona. And I had already written the Haley character, and I could really see bits of her persona being used in the Haley character. But the thing is, when it comes to first-timers, you can be 100% really completely taken by their physicality, their persona, et cetera, but when you have to test them out. There have been plenty of situations in the past where I think this person will be perfect for a film. They have such an incredible personality and appeal, but then you put a camera on them and they just simply can't do it. They shut down, they get too nervous, they can't be themselves, or a version of themselves. So we actually, I got on the phone. She thought I was a stalker at first. She has many stalkers, She
Well, if you contact her on Instagram.
Yeah, you can see why. But anyway, so I DM her, direct message her, and my Instagram happens to be just photos of my dog. It's just my two dogs. That's it. So when I say I'm
one of them, the one in Starlet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Starlet. Sorry.
Yes. No. It was an Instagram started because of that movie. I was trying to promote my dog.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I reach out to her, and she does IMDb. She Googles me, and she realizes that it's somewhat legitimate. She didn't know a lot about the film world, quite honestly, but she did her research, and I said, Bria, I would love to fly you down to Orlando and meet the two girls, because we had already cast them, and see how it works. And I just had her come to the Magic Castle motel where we were setting up shop, and I had them just walk around, Bria with the two girls here, and I shot stuff on my iPhone, and I could see it was working already, because I said, Bria read the script, and so she knew what the character was. She knew this was a mother-daughter relationship, but I told her, Haley is a young mom. She's a child herself. She never had the chance to grow up before having her child. So play this. Don't play this. Play this almost like a sibling relationship, like a sister. And she took my direction immediately, and the way these two interacted was really fun to watch, because Brooklyn jumped on Bria's lap, and they were singing like top 20 songs, like Rihanna songs and stuff that they both knew, and it just felt right. It just felt perfect. So then, and I said to her, okay, I want to cast you. and I said, you might be having to act against a 2-time Academy Award nominee. But the wonderful thing about her is that she had that enthusiasm, she had that motivation, and she said, I want to be, help me, because we all knew, including her, that she never had a day of acting before this job. And so she came down to Orlando a month early, and she worked with my acting coach and myself, and we really got her to the place where she was confident, and she was living in the character, and it was wonderful to see her transformation, how quickly she picked up on it. And if you think about it, there was a lot of pressure, and but she really did it, and I'm so proud of her. And now she has the acting bug, and she just did a television show, and
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is this strong sense of realism in all of your films, and obviously you're very, very talented in bringing out, I think, some of the true characters, true qualities from your actors and actresses. Perhaps you could also talk a bit about Brooklyn. I think it's amazing. Her performance is so natural. In the film, it almost looks like there's no camera in front of her. But most of the time, your camera is quite close to the characters. And it's a 35mm camera, so it's quite large as well. How did you do it?
Well, it wasn't just me. It was the fact that we actually really took our time with casting, and Brooklyn was a find, and we made sure we didn't even want to go into production until we found the perfect Moonie. And Brooklyn had come with previous experience. She did. She's from the Orlando area. She had done a few commercials and an independent. So and her mother was an acting coach herself. So she came with that experience. And then, but she took it to a whole. She won us over within seconds in the audition. But we knew that she wore her emotions on her sleeve. She was she was very expressive young girl, very funny, very very energetic and witty. And so we knew she probably had the potential to go to those places, like the final scene where she's crying, but we didn't know it was going to be that wonderful, quite honestly. We didn't know she was going to take it to that level. That scene was shot a week and a half into production because we had to shoot out of order because of budgetary reasons. And that day was a big day for all of us because she came to set that morning and she said, "I'm ready. I've been talking to my mother and I'm ready to cry." And she was preparing, we had a month of rehearsals, and every day, we had workshops and everything, and to get the kids to where they had to get to, but we never went over that scene because we didn't want to. You don't rehearse a scene like that because if you might kill it, meaning the actor may be able to get there in the rehearsal and then you never are able to get that again, and then you would just want to, you wouldn't be able to live with yourself. So you keep a scene like that for the day of. And she came and said, "I'm ready to cry. I've been thinking about what it would be like if I could never see my best friend again." And that was a moment where I thought, oh my gosh, she's now thinking about the character's motivations and where the character is. We didn't have to, and we weren't even going to go there, but we didn't want to, manipulate her in terms of, think about the saddest day in your life or think about your dog who died or something. We didn't want to do that. We wanted because we just didn't feel right to do that for a child of this age. So we just wanted her to get there herself, and she did, and we couldn't believe it. We had the camera set up. Am I being too long-winded?
No. Is he? Please.
I can wrap it up a little. I can be a little, okay. I'll bridge a bit. So, but basically, we were behind the camera, and Samantha Kwan, who is the acting coach on the film, and Alexis Zabe, they're right next to me, and we're just all holding each other's hands because of how it was moving us on the set. And I rarely get emotional on my own sets, but it was hard not to be moved by this girl's performance. And then I yelled "cut," and the entire crew came over and hugged her, and she called her mother because her mother wasn't on set that day, and she said, "Mr. Sean said I did good," and I said, "You did a lot better than good," and and we did one take.
That's wonderful.
And I didn't want to put her through it again, but so I actually was getting a wide shot that didn't even make it into the movie.
Oh.
It was a wide shot just for coverage sake from the side. And I said, "Brooklyn, you've already done a perfect job. This time the camera's on your back, so we don't even see your face. You don't have to cry again. Just pretend you're crying." And I yelled action, and suddenly I was looking closely at the monitor, and I'm seeing their tears again. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's doing it again. Yeah, so it just shows how incredible she is. She's like literally one of the best dramatic actors I've worked with of any age.
Such natural talent.
Yeah.
And I think you must have make them bond, like make the whole crew and team bonded.
Yeah,
shooting.
we were a nice family unit.
Yeah.
Again, Samantha Kwan became very maternal in a way with them. She was the acting coach. And then the two girls became like best friends. And they remain best friends. That's the wonderful thing.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, that was a true bond on set.
One last question from me, and we'll open it to the audience. Who has seen Tangerine, by the way? His previous, quite a lot. Thank you. So we know that Tangerine was shot on iPhone, and in the Florida project was shot on 35mm. A big jump, a big contrast. Was there any difference in managing the set, the production?
Yeah, of course there's going to be a difference in terms of just the logistics, how it goes down, the time it takes, the amount of people it takes to shoot 35. So yes, it's not nearly, it brings a different thing. It brings, first off, a different aesthetic, but then it brings a different way of shooting. Like your entire way of shooting is different. Now, in terms of my ratio of what I shoot, that remains the same. But like the amount of footage I'm shooting remains the same no matter what medium. But iPhone is very much, it allows you really to go very fast, very guerrilla. You can shoot clandestinely. You can hide cameras, et cetera, et cetera. 35 definitely is more of a, there's more setup. There's simply more to do. Sometimes there's more lighting. But the wonderful thing that I found with 35, besides giving it the look I wanted it to have, was that everybody said that you can't shoot with children and 35. You're like, it's just working with children alone is setting you up for a disaster, but 35 on top of that and how slow. But actually, I saw that it worked the opposite. I actually think that shooting on something like 35, where it brings a discipline to the set, where everyone's very focused, and that rubbed off on the children. And I even said at one point, because sometimes they did lose their focus. Sometimes they're little kids. They get distracted or whatever. Their energy level sometimes it's up and down. And I said to them, I remember one day saying, "Hey kids, do you hear that sound? That's the film running through the gate. That's my money burning. That's my money burning. So when you guys act up, you're burning my money." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And so it totally worked. I
think a lot of kids now know what 35 is.
Yeah, no, it was really cool actually to see their photos of Brooklyn behind holding the film and everything. Yeah. It is quite an education for them.
Great. All right, we should take some questions from the audience. Please raise your hand. There's a gentleman in the middle, please. We're passing on the mic. Please feel free to ask in English or Cantonese. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, first of all, thank you for bringing such a beautiful movie to Hong Kong with us. And I hope you're enjoying your time in Hong Kong so far.
I am.
So I have two questions I specifically want to ask you. First of all, how does your movies come into being? I can say that I've watched all of your movies, but from Starlight, Tangerine to now, the Florida project, you're always telling stories of a certain group of people, if not minority. Like, do you have a certain group of people who you want to tell the story about first, and then you come up with plots that serve the audience? Or it's the other way around, you come up with the plots first, and then you figure out which group of people can fit into the story? Since your movies are always strike a good balance between realism and good story elements, I'm just curious about how it starts in the very beginning. And the second question is, as the host just said, there's always at least realism in your movie. So I want to ask, how do you bring that sense of realism into movie in terms of directing on actors? Thank you.
Oh, well. Well, thank you for those kind words. Every film is different in terms of its origin and how we set out to to make it. Sometimes it's inspired by simply a location. Prince of Broadway was a chaotic area on Broadway between 26th and 30th. It was one of the last areas of Manhattan that wasn't gentrified, and very, very chaotic because there was, counterfeit goods being sold on the streets, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to shoot because of that reason, because of just the eye and ear candy of this area. And then it was about us going in and understanding the area. We understood after doing our research for the first day or two that there was a relationship between the West African hustlers, who many of them being undocumented, and their relationship with the Lebanese shop owners, and that was to be explored, and we had to obviously find people there to collaborate with because we were from outside of that world. And that movie, and the reason I talked about that is because that informed the way we made every other film. Now, how we got into it, slightly different. Starlet was, an exploration of that adult film world. Tangerine came from the fact that I knew about this red light district very close to my house in Hollywood that that was frequented by trans women. But again, not knowing anything about it, just knowing that it was an area that I had never seen shot on film and television before, and I wanted to explore it and know more about it myself. And so once we got the green light to make that film, it was up to my co-screenwriter and I to go in again and find somebody who could open that world up to us, and that was Maya Taylor, who played one of the leads in the film, and it went from there. And then with this film, it was more about the issue, I think, because of the fact that I certainly didn't know about this problem in the United States, that of the hidden homeless. I didn't even know there was a term, the hidden homeless. So my co-screenwriter sent me these news articles about the situation going on in Kissimmee, and all of these news articles were written about this very sad irony, this juxtaposition of children living in poverty in budget motels outside of a place that we consider the happiest place on earth for children. So that was our way in. Then we discovered this issue is nationwide. This film could have taken place anywhere in the United States, but it was something about, again, that juxtaposition. So there's different ways in. I don't think it's ever, and I think it would be actually a little bit, I think it would be a little weird, for lack of a better word, for me to actually target a group and say, I want to explore that group. That's a little exploitative in my eyes. There's a reason why, and it's usually to do with just, my own personal interest in either an issue or a location or something that I've heard about, or an area I live near.
And the second question, we can go with this a bit quick so that we can get more questions. I think the second question was, how do you bring out the realism in your cinema?
Oh, yes. I just have worked with really wonderful actors, quite honestly. And we have a similar sensibility. I usually give them. Now I think the actors I work with can look back at my body of work and just be like, oh, this is what he wants. But I think that up to this point, it's just been finding actors who I say, look, this is grounded in reality. This has to be real. This has to sound like I didn't write this. And that's why I encourage improvisation on set. And I've, again, found a lot of actors who are really wonderful at that can take my words and just slightly throw them off or put it into their own words sometimes, or just deliver them in a way in which, they're doing the little human touches that I think we don't see enough of in screenplay writing, like the ums and the ahs and the pauses and the incomplete sentences. I love incomplete sentences. I like characters who mumble sometimes,
That's how we talk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, to allow for more time for questions, if I may ask you to please limit your question to one and be brief and direct, if that's okay. We have a lady to our left, please. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for this wonderful movie, and I even cried at the last scene, so thank you so much for that. And my question is that in this film, I think we can see the very real situation of living of this poor guy who are just struggling for this 1 week rent, something like that. I think this is something most of us don't really know about. And I think you put this in a very wonderful way and very real way. And I'm wondering that how could you do that? How could you know them so well? Is that part of your life experience, or you just observe them? If you just observe them, I think that you are a very, very good observer. So that is my question. Thank you.
Well, thank you. No, as I said before, I honestly did not know about the problem that existed in the United States of the hidden homeless. So this was something in which we had to then, the way that we got to a place where we felt confident enough that we could write a fictionalized screenplay about it, is that we had to spend time with the community. And we went there. We approached it in a very journalistic way. We interviewed anyone who would want to speak with us. We would walk onto the grounds of motels and just extend our hand and say hello and introduce ourselves and say, do you want to share some of your stories? And across the board, we got a positive, warm reception. It was really incredible to see, actually. And so it wasn't just the motel residents. These were the small business owners along Route 192, the motel managers. You know, that was a big deal for us, because if we hadn't bonded with a couple of these motel managers, there would be no Bobby character. You know, that really informed the Bobby character, the struggle that these individuals have on a daily basis. And then the nonprofits in the area. You know, there was one in particular, the Community Hope Center, which really, they were incredible in terms of the information they would give us. We would fact check with them. The whole ending with the Department of Children and Families. We wanted to make sure it was accurate in the way it went down, so they helped us in that regard and allowed us to even shoot on their facility in the scene in the beginning when she's talking to the social worker. So it was about getting as much information as possible and really just and again, getting to that place where we felt we understood the world enough where we could write a screenplay. And it was always then we would actually, you know, it's very important for me for the people that we're focusing on to have input on the script and in some cases approval on the script. You know, so I don't think that happened with Florida, but with Tangerine, I wanted approval from Maya and Kiki over the script. They had to sign off on it. And with this film, we passed it by the motel residents that we were working with closely, and always got, we got notes, we got feedback, and so.
That's incredible. Shall we allow time for two more questions? Is that okay? Yeah, maybe one from this side. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the wonderful film. And speaking of stalking, I did see you on Letterboxd, and I was wondering if that's you?
It
should be you. It has pro on it.
It's a cup of latte. It's a lot, right? That's my icon, so that's me.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Thanks for following me.
So I saw that one of your favorite films is Oasis. I was wondering, could it be the fantasy sequences that influence you, or realism?
Oh, I just think that number one, Chang Dong Lee is one of the most one of the, if not the one of the most important filmmakers working right now, and the stories that he tells, if you think about what that film is called, it's a Korean film called Oasis, back from, I believe, 2003, and it's one of my favorite films, and it's the love story between two outcasts, and I'm not going to go into the details, but you should definitely check it out, and it had a big influence. It's been very inspirational. So.
Thank you. We have a question in the middle, please. The lady in the middle. This is the last question. Sorry.
Thank you for the film. I was wondering if you could talk about what you think of female friendships, because I'm really interested in the role they play between the mother, the children, and also in Tangerine.
Yeah, it's looking back on my films, I think I've tackled it 3 times. And I don't know exactly why, quite honestly. Again, maybe it's just a response to what I don't see enough of. You know, Starlet was the same thing. Starlet was about the friendship. It was an intergenerational, friendship, but between 2 women. And maybe it's just because I never see it fully fleshed out. I think that often I see female friendships depicted on screen, and they're very superficial, And I like to, I don't know, get down to the meat of it. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I just meaning that I like to. It's just interested me to see that sisterhood, and what goes behind what makes sisterhood. And it's something that I've tried to explore, again, out of my own interests. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm sure you have many more questions. Unfortunately, we have to give the venue back to the Cultural Center. So, thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you for having me.
Extremely insightful. Thank you. We hope to see you again in Hong Kong. Thank you.